Okay, I am going to just do this to refresh my memory, but it might help others as well. One of the things I love using are coffee filters. I have a lot of the already used ones, which are kind of like coffee stained, obviously, but I also like to use white ones. And the reason that I do like to use white ones is you get a little bit of a stronger color. I just finished coloring these two, and I want to show you probably the easiest and cheapest in the long run and quickest way to color a bunch of things to get the same, pretty much the same color. So I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to show you really all you need. Now, the most important thing that I I believe is the most important thing, and it's probably the most expensive purchase, but you don't have to have as many of these blocks. I happen to have the Derwent Inktense blocks, and I've mentioned them before because they are my go-to coloring resource. So let me show you that. Let me pause for a minute and show you that. Okay, I have the 72 set, and I've had it for a long time. They each have numbers. Sometimes I get them, sorry about the pounding, but something's going on in my next door neighbor's roof. Somebody's fixing it. I did do some color charts. Sometimes I get the blocks, if I pull too many out at one time, I sometimes don't get them back in the exact same place. But I do have some color charts, which helps me to see how they look. The other thing is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can order a block by its color, or a couple of blocks. Then they have smaller sets. In fact, I've had the smaller set and I gave it to, I think, my granddaughter or a friend. But anyway, I have the set and it's got 2 layers of absolutely wonderful colors. And I use these all of the time for everything. I use them in polymer clay. I mean, they can color fabric, they can color polymer clay, they can color UV resin. I mean, they are not a dye, they are actually inks, strong pigment inks. They act like watercolor, and of course, as I've said before, once they're dry, especially if for some reason you get some heat on them, they are permanent. So they don't mix like dyes will. If you get them wet again, they will reconstitute and move around. These will not. So that's the other really terrific advantage of these. So back to how one of my coloring jaunts. I'm going to pick a color. Let's see that I haven't probably used recently. Let's see, I really never quite have enough green, so I'm going to see if I can find green. I love green. Yeah, and this is one of my go-to green colors, so I'm going to pull that out, and we're going to do some green stuff. I'm going to set these aside. I'll pause this while I set it aside. Okay, so I've got my green color. I just picked one. I would highly recommend you use some kind of gloves. And what I want to show you is I always keep handy some things that I wouldn't mind having in similar colors. Right now, these are just 3x5 cards. One side of these cards I have scraped or a coat of Mod Podge. And the reason I do that is because I can use my iron to Mod Podge to put transfer napkins on one side. So I love that look. But the other side, often I want something done. So what I would do is keep these handy in case I want to get some color on the other side. So that's I'm going to set that aside. The other thing I have is I just bought, somebody suggested this Hug Snug brand of seam binding for ribbons and things. And I always love to have them in the same colors that a few other things are also. So I'll set that aside because I have a little batch right here that I'm going to use to color also. Now I will look over here, and the batch I did this morning, I used these 2 colors, and I got my coffee filter white, this color, and I also have matching seam binding. hanging on a lamp. Actually, over here you can see it hanging. So at the same time I made the coffee filter. If I'm looking at the same time for something in that colorway, I've got it. So that's what I do here. Now I'm going to set this aside. And one of the things I bought at the Dollar Tree, I don't happen to have any cheesecloth handy, but I did find this in my bathroom drawer storage. I had bought some rolled gauze, and I didn't think it could be used for anything. And I was a little skeptical because it's polyester and rayon. So I knew the rayon would die. I wasn't sure about the polyester, but it does. And so for $1, I've got that. Cheesecloth might be cheaper and more handy. But anyway, so I got that. I got a piece of that cut over here, so I could show you how that dies. And then a white coffee filter. So that's what I started with. So here's what I do. Oh, the other thing you need, besides the gloves and something to color, and then these wonderful inks, is or it helps to have. You could have another plastic surface. It doesn't have to be this one, but this is one of those big craft mats. It's either one I bought from the kitchen supplies, or it's one I bought from craft supplies. They're more expensive if you buy them as a craft, as an oven or cookie sheet liner. I think they're a little bit cheaper. But anyway, have something, a non-porous surface. You probably could do this on a white kitchen plastic bag. And the only reason I would say white is that you can see your colors better. In fact, you can't see it as good on here. I wouldn't use a dark green garbage bag, because then you really would have trouble seeing the color. Okay, so here I'm going to go. I'm going to put my gloves on and get busy making something, some green stuff. I want this color green. I love it, and I use it a lot. So I'm going to show you how I do it. It's very quick and easy, and not much cleanup, which is good. I got my gloves on backwards. And the other thing is, I use every bit of color, so there's no waste. Really, there's a tiny bit of color left over up there on the mat that I haven't cleaned up yet. But okay, so I'm going to move everything out that I want to color. And I also have those cards handy in case I've got a lot of it. And I have a spray bottle of water. That was the other item. Okay, so I'm going to spray water on my mat, a good amount. You can see it's beating up here. Then you take your little block of color, and you just kind of smush it. I'm going to set it to the side in case I need some more. And that's pretty intense, as Inktense is. So then I'm going to put the coffee filter, and they're very strong, by the way. This is really strong, and I'm going to immerse that into the ink, and it's a rather bright color. I like that. But so then you just kind of wipe up. That's what you're doing. So you're cleaning it. So you didn't use too much, and you'll get like a variegation. So I'm going to leave this here. The other thing you can do, if you wanted more color while it's laying here, you can take this block and just rub more color on it, which I'll do. And I'm going to pick up that little bit of yellow in there because I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And then just squish it all around. So I think I've got this done. So now I'm going to add to the mix my seam binding. And all I'm going to do is clean up. I will just squish everything together, squish the seam binding, scrunch it all up, then pick up some color, set the seam binding. It looks like the seam binding needs a little bit of water. Yeah, but it's coming along really nicely. So I will just spray it a little bit with water and smush everything together, to include this coffee filter. And roll it in my hands with the gloves on. And I think I've got I'm trying to look through my camera at the same time. So now I've got this colored, and I've got this colored, and it's pretty intense color, but it'll be very pretty in projects. And what I like about the coffee filter is that you get that nice little textured look. It's not like flat paper. So there I go. Now what I'll pause and hang this stuff up. This is variegated as it turned out right now, but it's really very pretty. So I'm going to pause for a minute if I can do that. So what I do is I have wire racks, shelves, and I just keep a few clothespins handy and throw this up there to dry, and it won't take very long, but it's going to be a pretty color. Now back on the mat, there's still water, and oh, this thing is starting to stick, so I've got a lot more color. So I'm going to just add some more spray, some more water. I didn't use very much, but you can see how intense things get. So now I'm going to, I did the ribbon, and it's hanging here on my light. I'll give you a little peek of that. I have an art light sitting here by my window, and so I just use that to hold these. But I will now color the this gauzy type of bandage. And so you, instead of using a handy wipe, which you might throw away, although some people manage to do some wonderful things with those. Oops, sorry, I keep moving the camera. I've got it hanging on my neck. It's not very good, is it? But it enables me to walk around the room. But I think you get the idea. So there is the, I think I might add a little more water to that. And mop it up. Squeeze it, scrunch it, and it's colored. Pretty color. So now I'll have several things that I can use any which way I want. It's a rather intense color right there in the middle. So I may just squeeze that and squeeze this again, roll it in my hands, scrunch it, and I think that should do. Now, this stuff, when it dries, you can get some really interesting texture, like to back things in your journals or pockets or whatever it is you're doing. In fact, I'm going to just add some color here with my finger. Yeah, but when this thing dries, and even before it dries, you can see, I'll show you how you can, you know, get the stretchiness of it, and it will go in all kinds of shapes, particularly if you cut off these long edges. Then the stuff just starts to shred, but you can get it to look really organic, sort of. I guess that's the word. Everybody uses that word. But you can also see how the holes are coming in, and you can easily, it works better when I don't have gloves on. It's very hard. You just run your fingers along, and so you get some interesting texture. So I'm going to hang that on my light too to dry. And what did I say I had? I have these cards handy. So I'm just going to rub those cards and keep that. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'll do there. Let's see if I need a couple more. Yeah, so that's one card that I can use. And here's another. So here I am cleaning up. That's all I'm doing now, is cleaning up. I think I could just use a little bit more water and clean up this mess. But not one bit of that luscious color is wasted, see? So I've got that. I got one more card handy. And likewise. So you can see I'm kind of cleaning up the place. And there's one particular color in the Inktense that looks a lot like coffee stain, so it really comes in handy when I want to coffee stain something or make it look like it's coffee. So there I go. Clean it up and get some more color on there and let them dry. And let's see. Oh, here's one I must have used for something else, so all is not lost. I will just put some color down there. So there you go. It's really simple. It's best to plan out. You're having some items handy. It's not particularly beautiful. It's kind of ugly actually, but I'll bet when it dries it's not so bad. And I've cleaned up and I might be able to use it. So I'm going to end this now, because if you've got anything else you want to color, oh, here's some piece of something called, it's really not Luchador, it's something I bought, but it's just like Luchador. If you ever look up Luchador, and I've colored it blue, and I can use that in my crafts as well. Some of it's colored, so if I can find a piece that I haven't, well, just push this down there, and a little bit of water, and I could get some green out of this. And it also dyes, and it's a synthetic too. So just run that through there, and I will have a strip of something that's green and blue. But I have used this also in crafts, you know, like people use as backings for text or whatever. So just clean it up. So I've used a tiny bit of color, and we'll have several things that I can use with this color. And this little block, I probably didn't use hardly anything of it, and it will last me a long, long time. I particularly like these seam bindings. Aren't they pretty? And the coffee filters too. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for today.